Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com. Thank you guys for checking out the full-length version. We have WWE Backlash this coming Sunday. NoDQ.com will have live coverage. With that being said, let's get right down to your questions. First one today comes from Ash. I'm assuming not Ash from Evil Dead. Why would WWE have an injured Roman Reigns win clean over a healthy Finn Balor? Will Balor go over at Extreme Rules and face Brock Lesnar? The idea, of course, was for Roman Reigns to get his win back. Finn Balor brought up at the start of Raw how he beat Reigns, and we know how WWE is. WWE has to make Reigns look strong. When Reigns lost that match to Balor back over the summer, that was coming off of his suspension. But now, Reigns is back to being pushed as the guy in WWE, and he has to be made to look strong. And my guess is Reigns is probably not going to win the Fatal 5-Way match now at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, so thus, he has to look as strong as possible in preparation for an upcoming defeat, even if Reigns is not taking the fall, which I'm sure he's not. I would be very surprised if Roman Reigns took the fall at Extreme Rules in a 5-way match. I could see Finn Balor winning it, which is weird logic. You would think that if Balor is going to be the next guy to face Lesnar, that Balor would be protected. So it is very interesting. It could end up being Rollins. It could end up being Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire, so we'll have to see. The one issue I have with the whole thing, I get what WWE's doing, and they're trying to come up with the best match possible due to Strowman's injury, but I'm just not a fan of Balor not getting his immediate one-on-one match for the title when he never lost the title to begin with. To me, it's just a huge logic hole that bugs me personally, and I try not to let it bother me, but it's little things like that that bug me about the WWE product, and I wish there was more logic, but what can you do? But yeah, regarding your question, it could end up being Seth Rollins. If it's Finn Balor versus Lesnar, then I really do not understand why Balor had to take a clean loss to Roman Reigns, other than the fact that Reigns has to be made to look as strong as possible. This one comes from Mr. Yuck. Is Finn Balor less marketable as the Fonz on TV, with the Demon only appearing on pay-per-view? How can casual fans get into him? I sense that casual fans are already into him. I get what you're saying. The Demon character is something special, and with The Undertaker, Undertaker always did the big entrance for every show. I get the idea that Balor saves the Demon character for the pay-per-views. And there is a question of, is Balor as marketable just coming out there as himself or as the Fonz, as you put it? I think he's doing fine so far. I think, if anything, losing clean to Roman Reigns will hurt him more than anything else, and not getting his title shot. If I was Finn Balor's character, I would be going out there and I would be demanding a one-on-one title match with Brock Lesnar. You know, in the storyline, if I was the character, I would be coming out there and pulling a Stone Cold and threatening to hold this show hostage unless I got my title shot. I think Balor would get over by doing that, but of course that's not what WWE has planned. They're trying to do what they had planned and work around the Strowman injury. I just feel he could be booked better, and I think if he was booked better, then there would not be the need to bring out the Demon character except for the big events. I mean, on paper I like that idea. It's just that right now I think the booking is hurting him a little bit. This one comes from Dave. If WWE were to pull the trigger on a Dean Ambrose heel turn, who should his first feud be with? Or who should his first feud be with? That's an interesting question. I have been a fan of the idea of Dean Ambrose turning heel, but that was back when he was on SmackDown. I think that him turning on James Ellsworth would have been the right time to do it. Now, I really don't care. I think Ambrose would be better as a heel in terms of being a bigger star and having more potential to explore his character and take it to new places. But I don't see a good spot for him right now as a heel. Miz is doing really well as a heel. You have Brock Lesnar, who I guess is a heel. You had Braun Strowman. I guess with Strowman being gone for the time being, you could have somebody else step in as a top heel. But I sense it's not going to happen now. And plus, there's still the potential, now that all 3 Shield members are on Raw. And also, that's the thing, too. People are already booing Roman Reigns, so in a way, he is the top heel, even though he's not a heel. The whole WWE logic thing. But there's still that opportunity to do the Shield, have them reunite and do some sort of big pay-per-view match at some point later this year with the 3 Shield members reunited. So I doubt Ambrose is going to turn heel anytime soon. I would be really surprised, and I think they already missed the boat on it, quite frankly. This one comes from Aaron Rift Rules, one of my all-time favorites. Hey Aaron, do you think that there is any chance we could see Daniel Bryan wrestle in a WWE ring again? I would have to say, to put it in my own words, highly unlikely in all likelihood. WWE takes the health of the performers very seriously now, more than ever before in the company's history, and there are plenty of other guys they have that they are trying to push. Daniel Bryan, yes, he is a big star, but at the end of the day, WWE has other people, and the company will go on with or without Daniel Bryan wrestling. Will WWE prevent or try to prevent Daniel Bryan from leaving and going to New Japan Pro Wrestling or another indie promotion? Yes, I think WWE will do as much as possible. I think they will offer him good money to stay with the company. They'll offer him a coaching job. They'll offer him all sorts of different things as a way to keep him under contract and get him to sign a new deal. Will Bryan do it? That's going to be up to him. That's going to be up to what he wants to do, how much money he wants to make, if he wants to take a risk and wrestle on the indies or in New Japan. But I think as far as WWE doctors clearing him, I think that's very unlikely. If it was going to happen, it would have happened already. Now, who knows? Maybe Bryan will get seen by another WWE doctor at some point and he'll be better, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, people thought Shawn Michaels was done and he was never going to wrestle again, and he did come back, but with concussions, you know, that's something that can last for the rest of your life, and once the damage is done, you can't really go back. So I don't think it's going to happen. This one comes from Wrestling Fan 94. If Daniel Bryan leaves WWE when his contract is up, who would you like to see be the new general manager? Maybe Edge? That's interesting, although I'd like to see Christian work with Edge. I'd like to see them as co-GMs. I think that that would be very entertaining. If Bryan leaves the company, and that's still not for another 18 months, I think he'll be GM for the foreseeable future. Once he's gone, you would think that somebody similar to Bryan would take that spot, somebody who's a fan favorite, somebody who's an internet favorite, and Shane McMahon would do the popular thing. You know, I would not mind somebody like Hulk Hogan being in that role, but is he exactly that internet favorite? I'm not so sure if Hogan would go over really well, but I would be entertained by it as long as Hogan was not made the center of attention, which I doubt he would in WWE. It's not like TNA. WWE would be careful about not making Hogan overexposed and outshining everybody else. But that would be entertaining. Hogan would be entertaining in that role. And, you know, Edge and Christian as a group, I think, would be interesting. This one comes from Alexander. Are you frustrated to see the smart fans cheer indie guys and boo WWE guys who are usually the ones that get over with the casuals? I'm fine with it. I totally understand the frustrations of fans. I also understand WWE's perspective. They're trying to make the next Stone Cold and Rock. So they're looking for that guy who has this larger-than-life presence. Roman Reigns, say what you will about the guy, but he's the closest thing to what they have in terms of having the look and fitting the mold of a larger-than-life superhero. That is what Roman Reigns is, but that's not what the the indie fans want. I mean, we're in a different era now where fans want to see the high spots. They want to see the dives. You know, I'm getting into this whole Randy Orton thing, you know, where Orton was talking about how he's making all this money doing little while these other guys are doing all the crazy spots and doing that in front of a couple hundred people. But it is a different era now. Indie wrestling is doing really well. It's definitely thriving, and people like to see all the crazy spots. They like to see the acrobatics. It's a different era now, and people want to see these stars get pushed. With that being said, it doesn't do the movement any favors when you have the fans in Newark, New Jersey chanting "this is boring" during the Cruiserweight match. Although, you know, a lot of that's due to the fact that the character development is not really there with the Cruiserweights like it should be. But like I've said before, I think those guys need to just be able to go out there and do their thing, do what brought them to the dance. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, a lot of different opinions on it. I can understand it from both sides. This one comes from James Bong. I like that name. Can you see Aleister Black debut as a surprise with Bray Wyatt at some point? That's an interesting one. I've always been up for the idea of Bray Wyatt starting a new Wyatt family on Raw, but I think if I was going to have Wyatt align with somebody, I'd rather he align with Bo Dallas, who's doing nothing right now. Aleister Black, I think, would be best off being on his own, but again, I don't know enough about him and his persona and what he'll do in WWE. But I think you could have him be aligned with somebody, you know, somewhat of a bodyguard type role. I think could work. So, I mean, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. But as far as pairing him with Bray Wyatt goes, I'd rather see Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas be paired up if Wyatt's going to have somebody align with him. This one comes from Jesse. What did you think of Beach Ball Mania on Raw? I was in that section of the arena and it was a blast. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It sucked for the Cruiserweights though, and Austin Aries even went on Twitter and commented on the situation. I think it was very disrespectful to the wrestlers. Now, I did enjoy it back in the Attitude Era when the beach ball was being thrown around because it added to the festive atmosphere, and people were doing it during the main event with Stone Cold Steve Austin, so it wasn't like they were bored, they were just having fun, and it was adding to the overall vibe of the show. And at one point the ball got in the ring and Austin kicked it back into the crowd. That was awesome. Crowd popped huge for it. So it was just part of the vibe. But now it feels like people are just doing it because they're bored. And I think that sucks. And I think it sucks that the fans were chanting "this is boring" and chanting CM Punk during the Cruiserweights match. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. You know, these fans are wanting to see these guys get pushed, but then when you do stuff like this, you're not doing these guys any favors. You're not helping their cause. And Vince is going to look at this and you know, this is what is going to be his proof that the Cruiserweights are not over. And Vince will feel like this is something not worth investing in. So I don't think it's smart. If you're a fan of the Cruiserweights, you know, doing that kind of stuff is not going to help them. This one comes from Banks Club 27. When Sasha turns heel, can you see her aligning herself with someone like she did in NXT, like Dana Brooke? Not Dana Brooke necessarily, because that would just be copying Charlotte's relationship with Dana Brooke, but I would be open to the idea of Sasha forming a heel faction on Raw. It looks like we got one on SmackDown, the Welcoming Committee or whatever they're being called. Again, I would not copy something that's already being done though. If you have a SmackDown heel faction, then I don't think Sasha necessarily needs to be aligning with anybody if she's going to be a heel. I have no idea what's going on with Sasha, by the way. People have been asking me, is she turning heel? Why did she lose on Raw? Are they burying her? What the hell is going on? I would assume this is the start of a heel turn for her. She's going to be on this losing streak and she's going to lose her momentum and she'll snap at some point, but I really don't know. The commentary was very weird. It sounded like they were burying her in a way. I'm not sure. But if she is going to turn heel, I think that she's probably best off just being on her own for the time being and not copying something that was previously done on Raw or something that's being done on SmackDown. This one comes from the Dark One. For you, who is the best mid-carder and main-carder in the different eras in WWE and WCW? Well, for WCW, it's easy, you know. The mid-carders were basically all the guys that became major stars in WWE. Guys like Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. And during the Attitude Era, I mean, the obvious top stars were Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H and Mick Foley. The mid-carders, you had guys like the New Age Outlaws, X-Pac, Val Venus, The Godfather. During the Ruthless Aggression Era, you had your top stars, again, Triple H, Batista, John Cena. You had your solid mid-carders like Shelton Benjamin and Carlito. And now, I mean, basically, we're in a sea of mid-carders in WWE because there's really no one star that stands out from the rest, with the exception of Roman Reigns. This goes back to that earlier question. Roman Reigns is the one guy who has that larger-than-life star presence and is really getting the main event reactions. People complain about him online, but when he comes out there, he's getting the loudest reactions. And again, another huge crowd in Newark, New Jersey. WWE continues to draw in the big crowds. They continue to make money, and they look at Roman Reigns as the guy that's carrying the company right now. And these cruiserweights, you know, Vince is allowing it to happen, but then the cruiserweights go out there and the fans chant boring. This one comes from Alistair. Hi Aaron, what do you think was the worst Hall of Fame speech you've seen live or on TV? I only went to the 2015 Hall of Fame ceremony, and that one was fine. Larry Zbyszko's speech went on a bit long, it dragged a little bit, but I wouldn't say it was among the worst Hall of Fame speeches. Mr. T was the worst in terms of just being comically bad, but it made for good entertainment. And I'm not sure if you guys saw the Mother's Day video that WWE put out. I thought that was pretty funny. Some people got offended saying it's making fun of the guy, but it was a pretty silly Hall of Fame speech, but entertaining. I mean, there were some ones that were so bad they were entertaining. Donald Trump's was pretty bad, and I remember he just got booed out of the building. A lot of the celebrity ones, I would say, were pretty lame. I'm trying to remember. I mean, a lot of the bad ones I just tend to block out of my memory as far as Hall of Fame speeches go. But leave a comment. Let me know which Hall of Fame speeches you guys thought were the worst. And leave a comment, I'll respond. This one comes from Benny. What were your initial thoughts when WWE went to the PG rating in mid-2008 and best moment since the start of that era? Thank you, Benny. I think you're a first-time asker. I don't think your name is familiar to me. But to answer your question, I wasn't a big fan of it. I already felt like the product was starting to suffer in terms of quality, and I think going PG just made things worse, and it put more handcuffs on the creativity in the company, not just the writers, but also the talent. So I wasn't a big fan of it. I understand why they did it, and this was a year after the Benoit situation went down. So, you know, WWE as a corporation trying to clean up their image, I totally get it, but as a fan, I think it caused the product to suffer. And I'm glad over the years they've loosened up a little bit. I would say the best moment, easy answer, CM Punk dropping the pipe bomb in 2011, broke the site, got record-breaking traffic from it, so it got the fans buzzing and got people interested in WWE and led to arguably the best WWE match of the 2010s. Arguably, many would say that is the greatest match of the past decade. That'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ Video. Thank you guys again for your continued support. If you have a moment of your time, please share this video on Facebook or Twitter. Anybody you know who watches wrestling, and I'm sure you know some people, send them a link to this video and tell them to check it out. Word of mouth is really important. It goes a very long way in boosting up viewership and getting more people watching. Whatever you can to help support the videos, please do so. And I will see you guys next time for more NoDQ Video.